The email arrived at 3:17 in the afternoon, right between my client pitch and my fourth cup of coffee. Subject line: Your husband isn't who you think. Normally I'd delete spam like this without a second thought, but something about the local IP address made my finger hesitate over the delete button. I'm Quinn, and until that moment, I thought I had my life figured out. Running my marketing firm from our renovated home office, married to a supposedly brilliant tech executive, living the dream everyone kept telling me I was living. The video attachment loaded with agonizing slowness. 10 seconds of footage. That's all it took to crack my reality like a hammer to glass. Ryan, stop it! A woman's giggle, slightly drunk. Someone might see. My husband's distinctive laugh, his hands on her waist. The company logo clear on the wall behind them at what I recognized as their holiday party, the one he'd told me was boring and not worth attending. I replayed it 7 times, each viewing burning deeper into my brain. The way he leaned into her ear, how his fingers traced patterns on her hip, the same way he used to do with me. The timestamp showed last Friday, when he'd texted that he was stuck in meetings. My phone buzzed. Ryan's face appeared on screen. Hey babe, just checking in. Crazy day at the office. I stared at his contact photo, that perfect smile he wore like armor. Is it? Crazier than last Friday's holiday party? The silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. What are you talking about? Don't. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I have video footage, Ryan. Of you. Of her. Quinn, whatever you think you saw. What I think I saw? A laugh bubbled up, bitter as burnt coffee. What I saw was my husband with his hands all over some woman while telling me he was too busy to come home for dinner. Again. It's not what it looks like. Jessica's just a colleague. Jessica? The name hit like a slap. Funny how you know exactly who I'm talking about when I never mentioned a name. More silence. Then, we need to discuss this in person. I'll come home early. Don't bother. I have client calls until 7. A lie, but I needed time. Space. Room to think without his practiced explanations clouding my judgment. Quinn, please, you're overreacting. This is exactly why I sometimes don't tell you everything about work. You jump to conclusions. The familiar twist of his words made my stomach clench. How many times had he done this? Made me doubt myself, question my reactions, feel crazy for having perfectly normal feelings. You're right, I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. We should discuss this later. In fact, we should discuss a lot of things. That's my girl. I'll pick up dinner on my way home. Your favorite Thai place? My girl. Like I was a pet to be soothed with treats. Perfect, I replied, ending the call before the rage bubbling in my chest could escape. I opened my laptop and created a new folder. Evidence. The video went in first. Then I started taking screenshots of our text history, his late meeting excuses, the credit card statements I had access to as joint account holder. A new email arrived, this time from Emma Carter, my husband's boss's wife. Call me when you can. It's about Ryan. You need to know the whole story. I reached for my phone, then stopped. First, I needed to call Maggie. If I was going to tear down the careful facade of my marriage, I needed my best friend's steel spine to lean on. Because one thing was crystal clear. Ryan Mitchell wasn't just a cheater. He was a liar, a manipulator, and he had no idea that his carefully constructed world was about to come crashing down around him. I took a screenshot of Emma's email, added it to my evidence folder, and smiled. Sometimes karma needs a little help. The Thai food sat untouched on our dining room table, its aroma turning my stomach as Ryan launched into his third explanation of the night. You're making this into something it's not, he said, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled back, watching his fingers curl into a fist. Jessica's new to the team. I was just being welcoming. With your hands on her waist? My chopsticks clicked against the ceramic plate, a sharp staccato matching my pulse. That's quite the welcome package. His jaw tightened. You know, this is exactly why I don't invite you to company events anymore. You overanalyze everything, turn innocent moments into accusations. Funny how your innocent moments always happen when I'm not around. Ryan pushed his chair back, the legs scraping against hardwood. I'm trying to build something important at work. The networking, the relationships, it's all part of getting ahead. You used to understand that before. Before what? The words shot out like bullets. Before I started my own business? Before I stopped playing the perfect corporate wife? Before you decided working from home in your pajamas counted as a real career? There it was, the sneer in his voice, the contempt he usually hid better. I thought of my growing client list, the 6-figure contracts I'd landed this year alone. My pajama career paid for that watch you're wearing. His hand went to the timepiece, a gift from me after his last promotion. Quinn, honey, I'm just worried about you. You're isolated here, getting paranoid. Maybe if you came back to an office environment? I have a meeting with Emma Carter tomorrow. The change was subtle, a tightening around his eyes, a slight pause before he reached for his wineglass. Why? She emailed me, wants to discuss something about you. Cancel it. His voice dropped, turned silky, dangerous. Emma's been having problems with Oliver lately. She's not exactly stable. My phone buzzed, a text from Maggie. Done digging. Call me Asa P. It's worse than we thought. Ryan's eyes fixed on my screen. Who's that? Client. I tucked the phone away, forcing a yawn. Speaking of work, I should review some contracts before bed. You're always working these days? He stood, came around the table. His hands settled on my shoulders, heavy and familiar. Remember when we used to spend evenings together? Just us? I remembered. I also remembered finding birth control pills in his desk drawer 3 months ago, right after my last failed IVF attempt. Pills I hadn't prescribed, in a name I didn't recognize. Maybe we should take a vacation, he suggested, fingers kneading my muscles. Reconnect. Get away from all these distractions. Translation. Get me away from Emma, from whatever she might reveal, from the evidence I was quietly gathering. That sounds nice. I leaned back, playing into his touch. Where were you thinking? I'll plan something special. Just leave it to me. His lips brushed my temple. I'll clean up here. You go work. In my office, I locked the door and called Maggie. She answered on the first ring. He's been embezzling, she whispered. Oliver's been building a case for months. That's why Emma reached out. They're about to fire him. The room tilted slightly. How much? Nearly $500,000, and Quinn, there's a woman involved, Jessica Winters. She's not just his mistress, she's his accomplice. The pieces clicked together. The late nights, the sudden expensive gifts, his push to get me to quit working. Control the money, control me. There's more, Maggie continued. Remember that fertility specialist he insisted you see? The one who said your eggs weren't viable? My hand tightened on the phone. What about him? He's not board certified. Ryan paid him to lie. I found the transfers. The world went very quiet, very still. In the kitchen, I could hear Ryan humming as he loaded the dishwasher, playing the role of devoted husband. Quinn, are you okay? I'm perfect. My voice sounded strange, distant. In fact, I think it's time I planned a little surprise of my own. What are you thinking? Through the door, Ryan called out, Honey, want some tea? I smiled, cold and sharp as winter. I'm thinking it's time to show my husband exactly what a woman in pajamas can do. Emma Carter's office felt too warm, or maybe it was just the weight of what she'd shown me in the past hour. Financial records, emails, surveillance photos. A paper trail of betrayal spread across her mahogany desk like a roadmap to heartbreak. The fertility clinic was just the beginning, Emma said, sliding another document toward me. Ryan's been systematically gaslighting you for years, making you doubt yourself while he built his little empire of lies. I stared at the bank statement. Offshore accounts. Regular transfers to Jessica Winters dating back 18 months. He told me the IVF treatments drained our savings, while he was funneling company money into his girlfriend's account. Emma's lips tightened. Oliver's filing criminal charges next week. I thought, you deserve to know first. My phone buzzed. Ryan's third text in an hour. Lunch today? Miss you, beautiful. Emma watched me silence the notification. He suspects you know something. He's planning a surprise vacation, I laughed, the sound hollow. Probably hoping to get me out of the country before everything explodes. Quinn, Emma hesitated. There's something else about Jessica's pregnancy. The room tilted sideways. Her what? 3 months along. The timing, it matches your last round of fertility treatments. The pieces click together like a poison puzzle. The birth control pills, the fake fertility specialist, Ryan ensuring I'd never get pregnant while he created his perfect family with someone else. My phone buzzed again. Ryan. Made reservations at Bella's. Your favorite. Don't work too late. I need air, I managed, standing too quickly. The documents scattered. As I bent to help Emma gather them, a familiar name caught my eye. Dr. Andrew Phillips. Wait, I grabbed the paper. This doctor, he's not just the one who lied about my fertility. He's signing off on corporate expenses for Ryan. Emma nodded grimly. Medical fraud? He helps executives falsify insurance claims, bills the company for non-existent treatments. Ryan's been his biggest client. The office door opened. Oliver Carter stood there, his expression grave. Quinn, I thought I might find you here. Oliver just came from a board meeting, Emma explained. They're moving up the timeline. Ryan's getting sloppy, Oliver said. He tried transferring another 100,000 this morning. We've frozen the accounts, but... My phone exploded with notifications. Email alerts from our joint accounts. Large withdrawal attempts. Denied, denied, denied. He knows. The realization hit like ice water. He's trying to clean out our accounts. Quinn. Oliver's voice was gentle. Go home. Pack what matters. The police will be picking him up tonight, but... My phone rang. Ryan's face filled the screen. I answered on speaker. Where are you? His voice was calm. Too calm. Running errands. Why? Funny, because I just saw your car outside Oliver's building. A pause. You know, I checked your laptop last night. Interesting folder name. Evidence. Very organized. Very you. My hands started shaking. Ryan, I'm in your office right now. Amazing how much work you get done in your pajamas. Would be a shame if something happened to all these client files. Those files are backed up, I said, but my voice wavered. Like the backup drive in your desk drawer? The one with all your contracts and client information? Something crashed in the background. Oops! Oliver was already on his phone calling security. Emma grabbed her keys. You're making a mistake, I told Ryan, fighting to keep my voice steady. No, sweetheart, you made the mistake. Playing detective, meeting with Oliver and Emma, thinking you could outsmart me. Another crash. But don't worry, by the time you get home, there won't be much of a business left for you to run in your pajamas. The line went dead. Emma grabbed my arm. My car's downstairs. We'll beat him home. But as we raced through traffic, smoke was already rising from my neighborhood. 3 fire trucks screamed past us in the opposite direction. No, I whispered, then louder. No! We rounded the corner. Flames licked the windows of my home office. Ryan's car was nowhere in sight. My phone buzzed one final time. Should have taken that vacation offer. Love you, beautiful. I watched my house burn, something harder than grief crystallizing in my chest. Ryan thought he was teaching me a lesson. Instead, he'd just taught me exactly how far I'd need to go to destroy him. Emma, I said, my voice steady now, tell me everything you know about Jessica Winters. Maggie's guest room felt like a cage, even after 3 days. I sat cross-legged on the bed, surrounded by printouts of Jessica Winters' social media posts, her perfectly curated life, her growing belly, her stolen future. You need to eat something, Maggie said from the doorway, holding out a plate. Starving yourself won't rebuild your client list faster. The insurance company had called that morning. Arson investigation pending. No coverage until they determined the cause. Ryan's final gift, financial devastation wrapped in plausible deniability. My phone lit up with Oliver's name. Quinn, turn on Channel 7, now. Maggie grabbed the remote. Ryan's face filled the screen, standing outside his office building. The caption read, Tech Executive Claims Whistleblower Status in Corporate Fraud Case. In light of the widespread corruption I've uncovered, Ryan was saying, his voice steady and sincere, I felt morally obligated to come forward. The systematic fraud at Carter Technologies goes straight to the top. That lying snake, Maggie hissed. I held up my hand, watching Ryan's performance. He'd worn the blue tie I gave him last Christmas, the one he said made him look trustworthy. While I regret not speaking up sooner, he continued, recent events, including what appears to be a retaliatory fire at my home, have shown me the lengths some will go to silence the truth. The phone buzzed again. Emma. Oliver's being questioned by the board. Ryan gave them doctored documents. He's spinning everything. My laptop dinged. An email from Jessica Winters. Subject line, we should talk. Don't open it, Maggie warned. It's probably a trap. I clicked anyway. Inside was a single image. Ryan and me at our wedding, his hand possessively on my waist. Below it, 4 words. Sound familiar, don't it? Another message popped up. A video link. Security footage from Carter Technologies dated last week. Jessica at her desk. Ryan approaching, his hand on her waist, mirror image of our wedding photo. Her looking up at him, practiced vulnerability in her eyes. Oh my God, Maggie breathed. They planned this, all of it. My phone rang, an unknown number. Against better judgment, I answered. Hello, Quinn. Jessica's voice was honey-sweet. Ryan said you'd figure it out eventually. He said you were smart that way. Just not smart enough. What do you want? Want? I already have what I want. Ryan's whistleblower status means immunity. The board's eating up his story about Oliver's corruption. And the baby? She laughed softly. Well, that's just icing on the cake. The fertility clinic was a nice touch, wasn't it? Making you think you couldn't have children while I carried his? Ryan does love his little ironies. On TV, Ryan was still talking, playing the role of reluctant hero. The tie caught the light, blue as a bruise. You know what the best part is? Jessica continued. When this is over, Ryan will be running the company. Oliver will be in jail. And you? You'll be the unstable ex-wife who burned down her own house when she couldn't handle the divorce. We have witnesses who'll swear to your emotional state, your jealous accusations, your... I hung up, opened my laptop, started typing. Quinn? Maggie touched my shoulder. What are you doing? Buying stock. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Every share of Carter Technologies I can get. What? Why? Because Jessica just gave me exactly what I needed. I pulled up the video, isolated the timestamp. Ryan thinks he's the only one who knows how to play the long game. He's wrong. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Oliver's suspended pending investigation. Board meeting tomorrow to vote on Ryan's promotion. I smiled, remembering something Ryan once told me about corporate takeovers. The best predators don't attack head-on. They wait for their prey to feel safe. Then they strike. Maggie, I said, still typing, call that reporter friend of yours, the one who covers corporate fraud. What should I tell her? I pulled up the video of Jessica and Ryan, split screen with our wedding photo, added the audio file of our phone call, attached the fertility clinic records, the offshore account details. Tell her I have a story about a different kind of whistleblower, one who's been gathering evidence for years, waiting for exactly this moment. The send button hovered under my cursor like a trigger. And Maggie, tell her to bring a camera. Tomorrow's board meeting is going to be quite a show. The Carter Technologies boardroom felt like a courtroom, all polished mahogany and judgment. I sat in the back, watching Ryan command the room with practiced charm, my laptop balanced on my knees like a weapon. The evidence is clear, he was saying, gesturing to the projection screen. Oliver Carter's mismanagement has cost shareholders millions. The company needs new leadership. Board members nodded, already convinced. Oliver sat silent, defeated. Emma gripped his hand under the table. My phone buzzed. Maggie. Reporters outside, ready when you are. Ryan caught my eye across the room, his smile flickering. I think we've all seen enough corruption. It's time for transparency. Interesting choice of words. My voice cut through the murmurs. Every head turned. Mrs. Mitchell, the board chairman frowned. This is a closed meeting. Actually, I stood, connecting my laptop to the display system. As of this morning, I own enough shares to speak, and I have something the board needs to see. Ryan's hand twitched toward his phone. Quinn, don't. The wedding photo filled the screen, then the security footage, then the bank records. Fascinating pattern, I said, advancing through the slides. How the company's losses match perfectly with deposits to offshore accounts. Accounts registered to one Jessica Winters. The boardroom erupted in whispers. Ryan's mask slipped for just a second, rage flashing across his features before he recovered. "My wife is clearly disturbed," he said smoothly. "The stress of our separation." "Play the audio," Emma whispered. I clicked play. Jessica's voice filled the room. "Ryan's whistleblower status means immunity. The board's eating up his story." Color drained from Ryan's face. He lunged for the computer controls, but Oliver blocked his path. "There's more," I continued, pulling up the fertility clinic records. "False medical reports, insurance fraud, a systematic pattern of—" "You stupid bitch." Ryan's voice was pure venom now. "You think you can destroy everything I've built? With your little home business and your pathetic detective work?" The chairman cleared his throat. "Mr. Mitchell." "She burned down our house," Ryan shouted. "She's unstable. She set up security cameras after finding suspicious withdrawals from our accounts," I finished. The final video played, Ryan entering our house the day of the fire, leaving 20 minutes later. Smoke rising shortly after. The boardroom doors opened. A woman with a press badge entered, camera crew behind her. "Perfect timing," I said. "I believe you had questions about corporate whistleblowers?" Ryan moved faster than I expected. His hands found my throat, squeezing. "You ruined everything." Security pulled him back. As they dragged him away, he screamed promises of revenge, threats, secrets he'd expose. I touched my neck, feeling the bruises forming. "Those secrets?" I called after him. "I already published them all. Check your phone." The chairman was calling for order. Oliver was being reinstated. Emma hugged me, whispering thank you. The reporter waited eagerly for comments. But I couldn't stay. The walls were closing in, Ryan's fingers still ghosting across my throat. I grabbed my laptop and ran. Maggie found me in the parking garage, bent over, gasping. "Quinn, talk to me." "I thought it would feel different," I managed. "More satisfying, but I just feel human." I laughed, the sound edged with hysteria. Dirty, like I became him for a minute there, used all his tricks, his manipulation. The difference is you use them for justice. He used them for power. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. "You think this is over? We're just getting started." Another message followed, this one from an unknown number. "Check your email." I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a video, security footage from a fertility clinic. Me, unconscious on an exam table. Ryan and Dr. Phillips standing over me. A procedure I didn't remember. "Oh God," I whispered. "What did they do to me?" Maggie grabbed my shoulders. "Quinn, breathe. We'll figure this out." But the world was spinning. All my careful plans, my perfect revenge, suddenly felt hollow. What else had they done while I was sleeping? What other horrors were waiting to be discovered? The phone buzzed again. Ryan from a new number. "Now we're even. Sleep well, beautiful." I stared at the message, something cold and hard crystallizing in my chest. This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about survival. "Maggie," I said, my voice steady despite the tremors in my hands. "Call Emma. We need a good lawyer and a better doctor." The game had changed, and this time I wasn't playing to win. I was playing to destroy. The medical records spread across Emma's dining room table told a story more horrifying than any revenge plot I could have imagined. 3 unauthorized procedures while I was sedated. Experimental fertility treatments I never consented to. And worse, much worse. "They were using you as a test subject," Emma said softly, highlighting another document. Ryan and Dr. Phillips had a side business, underground fertility experiments funded through Carter Technologies. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. "How many others?" "We've identified 12 women so far, all wives of executives or employees. All told, they were infertile." My phone lit up, another anonymous message. A video of me unconscious on an operating table dated 3 months ago. Ryan's voice in the background. "Increase the dosage. We need viable embryos." I barely made it to the bathroom before getting sick. When I returned, Maggie was there, holding a newspaper. "Quinn, you need to see this." The headline hit like a physical blow. Whistleblower's wife linked to corporate espionage ring. Below, quotes from Jessica Winters painting me as the mastermind behind the fraud at Carter Technologies. "The police want to question you," Maggie said. "Ryan's lawyers are claiming you orchestrated everything, used his whistleblower status as cover." "That's insane. I have proof." "Which they're calling fabricated." Emma's voice was grim. "The board's freezing the investigation pending criminal charges. Oliver's being pressured to distance himself." My phone rang, an unlisted number. Against better judgment, I answered on speaker. "Having fun?" Ryan's voice was silk over steel. "You should have taken the vacation offer, Quinn. Now look what you've made me do." "You won't get away with this." "I already have. Check your email." New message. Video footage from our bedroom. Me, sleeping. Ryan injecting something into my arm. Date stamp last month. "What did you—" "Insurance," he said smoothly. "In case you got difficult. The symptoms should start any day now. Nothing fatal, just concerning. Enough to make any accusations you make sound like paranoid delusions." The room tilted. I grabbed the table for support. "Of course I have the antidote," he continued. "We could discuss terms, over dinner perhaps, for old time's sake." Emma grabbed my phone. "You sick bastard." "Emma Carter. How's Oliver enjoying unemployment? Shame about those harassment allegations. Almost as shameful as your drinking problem." "I don't have a drinking." "You will, once those photos circulate. Amazing what good editing can do." The line went dead. Another email arrived. Medical test results showing trace amounts of an unknown compound in my bloodstream. Dated yesterday. "He's bluffing," Maggie insisted. "We'll get another doctor." My nose started bleeding, just like the side effects listed in the trial documents we'd found. "Quinn?" Emma's voice seemed far away. "Quinn!" The room spun. As I collapsed, my phone lit up one final time. A message from Jessica. "Dinner's at 8. Wear something pretty. It's time to negotiate your surrender." Through the encroaching darkness, I heard Maggie calling 911, Emma cursing, the taste of blood in my mouth. I'd thought exposing Ryan would be enough. That truth would trump manipulation. Instead, I'd underestimated just how deep his corruption went, how many lives he'd poisoned besides mine. "Stay with us," someone was saying. "The ambulance is coming." But all I could think about was that video. Ryan standing over me while I slept, playing God with a syringe. How many nights? How many drugs? How many pieces of myself had he stolen while I dreamed of justice? My vision blurred. The last thing I saw was Emma's face, fierce with determination. "We'll find a way," she promised. "We'll make him pay." But as consciousness faded, Ryan's words echoed in my head. "Now look what you've made me do." The worst part wasn't the betrayal, or the violation, or even the poison in my veins. It was the realization that in trying to destroy him, I'd given him exactly what he wanted, total control over my life and death. The darkness took me, and somewhere in the distance, I heard Ryan laughing. The restaurant's private dining room felt like a trap, all soft lighting and expensive wine. Ryan sat across from me, perfectly composed in his designer suit, while Jessica lounged beside him, one hand resting possessively on her stomach. "You look terrible, darling," Ryan said, pouring wine I couldn't drink. "Hospital food must be dreadful." 3 days of tests had confirmed the poison in my system. Experimental, untraceable, exactly like the documents we'd found. I'd checked myself out against medical advice, armed with the antidote Emma's private investigator had discovered in Ryan's safe. "Let's discuss terms," I said, my voice steadier than my hands. "Simple enough." Ryan slid a folder across the table. "Sign these papers. Retract your accusations. Admit to corporate espionage and accept a plea deal. In exchange, you get the real antidote." "Real antidote?" Jessica smiled. "Did you think that little vial you stole would save you? That was just saline, honey. A test to see how desperate you'd become." My vision blurred slightly. The symptoms were getting worse. "Tick-tock," Ryan said softly. "The damage becomes permanent in— what was it, sweetheart? 48 hours? 36, Jessica corrected, checking her watch. And that's being generous." I reached for the papers with trembling fingers. Ryan's smile widened. The dining room door opened. Maggie entered, phone held high, live streaming. "Say that again," she said clearly. "About the poison and the antidote?" Ryan's mask slipped for just a second. "Security!" "Won't come," Emma's voice came from behind me. "They're busy dealing with the FBI agents in the lobby. You're bluffing." But Jessica's hand had tightened on Ryan's arm. "Am I?" I pulled out my phone, played the video from the hospital room. Ryan and Jessica visiting me while I was sedated, discussing dosages, timing, their perfect plan. "You were unconscious," Ryan snarled. "I was wearing a wire. The FBI suggested it, actually. They're very interested in unauthorized medical experiments." "You have nothing," Jessica snapped, but her voice wavered. "Check your phones," Emma said. They did. Their faces went pale as headlines flooded in. "Underground fertility ring exposed. Carter Technologies executive arrested. Dr. Phillips confesses to illegal human trials." "Impossible," Ryan whispered. "You taught me well," I said, standing despite the room spinning. "About patience, control, waiting for the perfect moment." "You're dying," he reminded me, "without the antidote." "Already synthesized," Maggie cut in, "from the sample in your safe. The FBI has been manufacturing it for days." "You're lying." "Like you lied about my infertility, the procedures, the other women?" Ryan lunged across the table, hands reaching for my throat again. This time, I was ready. The taser Emma had given me sent him crashing to the floor. Jessica tried to run. FBI agents met her at the door. "You destroyed everything," Ryan gasped from the floor. "No." I knelt beside him, fighting the poison's tremors. "You did that yourself. I just made sure everyone could see beneath your perfect surface." "Quinn," he grabbed my wrist. "Please, we can still—" "Fix this?" I pulled free. "Like you fixed me? All those nights, all those injections, playing God with my body while I slept?" His eyes darted to the exits, calculating escape routes even now. "The difference between us," I continued, "is that I didn't want revenge. I wanted justice. For every woman you experimented on. Every life you tried to control." The FBI led them both away. Through the window, I watched reporters swarming, cameras flashing, Ryan's perfect world crumbling in real time. "Hospital," Maggie ordered, supporting me as my legs buckled. "Real antidote time." "Worth it," I managed, though my vision was fading. Every second of pain. Worth seeing his face when he realized. Realized what? I smiled despite the darkness creeping in. That his perfect wife in pajamas outsmarted him at his own game. The last thing I saw was Ryan in handcuffs, his mask finally shattered, revealing the monster beneath. And for the first time since this began, the tremors in my hands had nothing to do with poison. They were pure, unadulterated triumph. The courthouse steps felt different this time. No trembling hands, no racing heart. Just quiet certainty as I watched Ryan being led away in handcuffs after his sentencing. 20 years for illegal human experimentation. Another 10 for attempted murder. Plus civil suits from 12 other women whose lives he'd tried to control. "Still here?" Emma appeared beside me, holding 2 coffee cups. "Thought you'd be celebrating." "Just thinking." I accepted the coffee, breathed in its warmth. "About that first email you sent me, the video from the holiday party." She tensed slightly. "Quinn?" "I knew it was you." I smiled at her surprise. The IP address. It matched Carter Technologies' executive floor. I should have been more careful. "Why weren't you?" Emma watched Ryan's police transport disappear around the corner. "Because I saw myself in you. The perfect wife, living the perfect lie. Until you start noticing things. Small things. The way he dismisses your work, controls your medical care, makes you doubt yourself." "Oliver?" "Was nothing like Ryan, but watching you, it made me brave enough to tell Oliver everything I'd discovered, about Ryan's experiments, the offshore accounts." My phone buzzed. A message from Jessica's lawyer. Another plea deal offered in exchange for testimony. Delete. "The fertility clinic called," I said quietly. Turns out I was never infertile. The treatments, the procedures, it was all part of his control. Quinn, I'm so sorry. Don't be. I handed her a business card, my new marketing firm's logo sharp against cream paper. Sometimes losing everything shows you what you're capable of building. Speaking of building, Emma nodded toward the courthouse entrance. Maggie emerged with Oliver, carrying thick folders. The class action suit needs a spokesperson, someone to represent all the women Ryan experimented on. I can't. The media attention would show other women they're not alone. Maggie joined us, her expression fierce. That they can fight back. Oliver cleared his throat. The board's offering settlements, trying to avoid publicity. Let them try. My voice was steel. Some things shouldn't stay buried. A familiar car pulled up, Ryan's lawyer. Through tinted windows, I caught a glimpse of Jessica, her pregnancy now obvious. She didn't look triumphant anymore, just tired, trapped in her own perfect lie. There's something else, Maggie said softly. Dr. Phillips' records. There were successful embryos from your procedures. They're still viable. The world stopped for a moment. All my carefully constructed walls trembled. You don't have to decide now, Emma touched my arm, but they're yours, if you want them. My phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. I'll tell you everything, please. One last meeting. Ryan, still trying to manipulate, even from behind bars. I deleted the message without responding, looked at the business card in Emma's hand, the folders in Maggie's arms, the quiet strength in their faces. Schedule the press conference, I said. It's time to tell our story, all of it. You sure? Oliver asked. Once it's public? I spent years being quiet, controlled, perfect. I straightened my shoulders, felt the last traces of Ryan's poison leaving my system. No more. We walked down the courthouse steps together, past reporters and cameras. In my bag, Dr. Phillips's records waited like a future I never thought I'd have. A choice that was finally, truly mine. Quinn? Emma paused at the bottom step. What will you tell them, the reporters? I thought about that first video. The holiday party where Ryan's mask first cracked. How one moment of truth can shatter a lifetime of lies. I'll tell them what I learned, I said, stepping into the sunlight. That sometimes the most dangerous monsters wear designer suits and perfect smiles. That control isn't love. That strength isn't about revenge. It's about refusing to let someone else write your story. Behind us, the courthouse doors closed on Ryan's perfect world. Ahead, reporters raised their cameras, ready to hear a different kind of truth. I smiled, thinking of all the women watching, all the stories yet to be told. And for the first time in years, the future felt like something bright and wild and beautifully, perfectly imperfect, just like me.